John 20 verse 18. This is the scene that describes Mary Magdalene standing outside the tomb of Christ after Peter and John had left. Something amazing happens at this scene. She is recorded to be weeping, and she stoops to go into the tomb. I want you to note here that by stooping, she is bowing into the tomb. Upon entry, she sees the Ark of the Covenant. Wait, that can't be right. What? Blasphemy? A woman? The Ark? No way. Well, let's review. What does she see? Mary sees two angels, one at the head and one at the feet of where Jesus has been laid. Do you see it? Do you see the Ark of the Covenant? Two angels, one at the head, one at the feet, looking at an empty grave where Jesus had lain. Two angels present at the point that salvation and redemption occurred. This would mean that Mary would then have been made into a priestess, because only priests could behold the glory of the covenant. It gets better. She turns around and sees Jesus, the very redemption before her, and he calls her woman and he calls her Mary. He then gives her a word to take to the disciples. Why is this so crazy? This is how you know the Bible is true. The disciple John would never in his right mind have recorded the testimony of any woman, as women's testimony was not held in high regard, and most certainly as a Jew. He would not have recorded a woman as being the first to see the Messiah, or to see a true depiction of the Ark of the Covenant. If the resurrection was a hoax, they would have done their best to align it with the law and culture of the day. But yet here it is. The last person recorded to see the living Ark was Mary Magdalene, a woman of questionable reputation. This is the love God has for you. He overlooks who you have chosen to be by your own willpower, and sees who you can become in Him. He writes off your past sins and allows you to the Holy of Holies. He gives you a testimony in a culture that may say you can't have one. Do you see it? Do you see yourself? Do you see Him? Exodus 25 verse 10. This scene takes us back in time to the construction of the Ark of the Covenant, the most sacred artifact in the Jewish religion. God instructed Moses on how to build the Ark, providing specific measurements and materials to use. The Ark was to be made of acacia wood and overlaid with pure gold, inside and out. This shows the obedience and faith of Moses and his people as they followed God's instructions to the letter. The Ark was then placed in the Holy of Holies, the most sacred part of the tabernacle, a place where only the high priest could enter once a year. It was here that God would appear in a cloud above the mercy seat between the two cherubim that were on the ark. This symbolized God's presence among His people and His willingness to forgive their sins. The ark played a significant role in various miracles and events, demonstrating God's power and presence. When the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, the waters parted as soon as the priests carrying the ark stepped into the river. During the Battle of Jericho, the ark was carried around the city for 7 days, and on the 7th day, the city walls fell down flat. Now, let's go back to the tomb where Mary Magdalene stood. The two angels she saw, one at the head and one at the feet, were just like the two cherubim on the ark. And the place where Jesus had lain was like the mercy seat, the place where God's presence was manifested. Mary, a woman of questionable reputation, was the first to see this representation of the ark, to see the risen Christ, the embodiment of God's forgiveness and love. Do you see it now? Do you see the connection? Do you see yourself in Mary? Do you see Him in the ark, in the empty tomb in your life? God's love is there, always reaching out to you, showing up in ways you are not expecting. He is always ready to forgive and to transform you, just like He did with Mary Magdalene. Will you let Him?